there's a lot of definitely things that are rewarding. For financially, it's been great to be able to provide a lot for our family. But I have so much more flexibility to be with my kids. And look, I'm going to get emotional. That has been so rewarding for me. Like, I got to go to every single one of my kids' events at school this year. Like, and they do a lot.
Aww.
The kindergarten picnic, the second grade picnic, the field. Like, I didn't miss a single one of them.
Wow.
And that fills my bucket.
Yeah.
So that has been very, very rewarding for me.
Aww.
I definitely have to agree with that. It's doing it without feeling guilty.
Yes.
That I think is the biggest weight that was lifted. Is being able to do that and say, yes, you know what, I can take this time off and do that. And I mean, with my son, that's he graduated this year, being able to take that trip to his college and the orientation and, and not feeling guilty that you're leaving.
I think it's really hard to be a working mom in general. But then when you tell people you're a working mom, you're a business owner and a mom, they're how do you do that? And this has allowed me to do that.
Welcome to Enrich Your Empire with Richie Huffman, the ultimate podcast for entrepreneurship, impactful wealth building, and effective team leadership. It's time to enrich your business and create a lasting legacy. Let's get to work. Hey guys, welcome back to Enrich Your Empire. And today we had Katie and Kelly. Katie and Kelly came up through the philosophy and our mantra of growing people big and small. These two young ladies started out as teachers inside of Celebree Schools, ultimately becoming directors, and today own their own Celebree Schools. We got into what it was like growing up inside Celebree as an employee, but also now the benefits of owning their own Celebree Schools. It is a great episode. Hope you enjoy. All right, guys. All right. Welcome back to the Enrich Your Empire with Richie Huffman. I am super excited today. I am here with two of my favorite people. Here on our podcast, we have mentioned a ton about how we grow people big and small here at Celebree. And these two ladies that I have with me today, Katie Young and Kelli Amrein, are at the pinnacle of that. These ladies at one point worked for Celebree as assistant teachers.
I started as an assistant teacher, yeah.
Teachers, directors, and now own their own Celebree School. So I have to start with congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, this is what we talk about when we talk about, we grow people big and small. In the very beginning, I didn't know that we grow them this big to the point where they're actually owning their own Celebree Schools. And for Kelly on her second, and I'm sure Katie's considering that. But when my first question to you guys, like on this journey, because you've been on this journey for a long time, this we grow people big and small journey. At what point did you or at all start thinking about what you had to start thinking about, like, man, maybe I could own my own Celebree School? Who wants to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. Well, starting my journey with Celebree in 2011 and starting as a teacher and then quickly moving to an assistant director, to a director, I'll never forget that meeting that we had where you introduced the franchise.
It was announced, right?
Yes, it was announced.
Totally.
It was a big announcement for the franchise. And I will never forget the words out of your mouth were, I expect for some of you to start thinking about this. And that is like my major goal, is to see you guys grow into owning your own one day. And that really struck me. And I know that I'm assuming that probably did it for you too, but
yeah. I actually remember coming back from maternity leave and seeing Chris Kelleher's name in my mailbox, and I was like, what in the world? Chris and I went to high school together.
I didn't know. Wow. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Huh.
So I saw his name, reached out. What are you doing here? He's like, you definitely want to be a part of the growth that's going to happen here in 3 years. And then that same meeting, you guys launched the franchise model, and Chris and I we were upstairs because this was at the old office. Yeah. And they had the tent outside. We went upstairs to get lunch, and I said, Chris, when can we have our first meeting?
Wow.
And he's like, what? I was like, that's what I want to do.
Wow.
Where do I sign up?
Wow. I'm getting emotional already, and this was not going to be an emotional topic. But just what you just said and what you said, Katie, on you never know who is going to impact your life, right? Like I didn't know that Chris Kelleher made that call and impacted your life, and I didn't know that. I don't even remember that I said that, but how impactful that was. So you never know who's in the room, and you never know what you're going to say and how impactful it could be on somebody. So wow.
Yeah, and the fact that at the time that Chris and I had that conversation, originally the franchise model hadn't been launched as of yet, but it was still in the works. And I think that there was a lot of dedication to launching it right and not just rushing it. And you took those 3 years to really build up this model and make sure it wasn't just like, okay, here it is, but hey, here it is, and you want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is so cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing? Like, how many people were in that room that day? A lot. And how, just everybody heard the exact same story, the exact same opportunity, and out of a lot, two step forward.
I think for me, it was, I have been a director with other companies and other schools, and nobody ever gave us the opportunity and the accountability in the positions as Celebree did. You entrusted us with, creating budgets and creating goals for our schools and, becoming accredited and taking that process. I never had that accountability anywhere else.
Right.
So if I were to have even thought about this with any other company, I wouldn't have known what I was doing.
Wow.
Like with Celebree, I actually felt confident to say that I feel like I would be successful, starting this franchise.
Wow.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I talk about that a lot to people because you set us up as directors, as business owners. I didn't even know what P&L stood for before I worked for Celebree. I didn't know what a budget was. My husband would say, I still don't know what a budget is, but
you're just fooling him.
You know what a
budget is.
Now I do.
Whether we're willing to follow it or not, that's a different story.
But I felt confident going in and being a business owner and looking at this franchise model because I saw the business side of it every single day. Yeah. We didn't own our corporate schools, but we were the owners.
And we
you
felt
were the
like
drivers.
it.
Yes.
Yeah, you drove that. You drove the results.
Yeah. Yeah, and we did feel like it. It was never, we were never diminished or demised in our roles. It was, everyone looked for us. Hey, you're not growing. Why? Hey, you're not meeting budget. Why? That's the accountability part. But then there was the support and resources behind that.
Wow.
Yep.
What after that, guys? What after, you're both in this room, you hear the same speech and you're like, yeah, I'm going to take the next steps. What were the next steps for you guys?
For me, it was a long conversation with my mom and husband.
Yeah, I bet.
Because that was a huge investment for us.
I bet.
It was our entire nest egg.
Yeah.
Pouring it into like this franchise.
Yeah.
So, but I will say that they were very supportive and knew that we were going to be successful.
That's awesome. Well, first, as you guys mentioned, they knew that you had what it takes. Right, because you'd been doing this for a long time. As you mentioned, we always treated our franchise partners, you guys are our franchise partners, our corporate directors, as if they were franchise partners. Yeah. So I think that really gave you guys, as you mentioned, Kelly, really gave you the confidence and the leg up to say, I can do this.
Yeah, I also had to have a long conversation with my husband, but originally I was looking at doing it with my sister. And, we all sat down at a lunch and it was one phone call and everyone's like, yes, of course, we'll sit down with you. I had a lot of questions, a lot about the financial part of it. And after we sat down and talked, I looked at Mike and I said, I don't think that we'll need a partner. I think that we might be able to do this. Now, on the flip side of that, we made a lot of sacrifices financially to make this investment into our future. But it's been worth it 100%.
That's awesome. Tell me a little bit more about that.
That meeting?
Well, any startup business takes sacrifice. I haven't met one entrepreneur that has not sacrificed in the beginning in order to get a business up and running and profitable. So, like, what did you mean?
Our story is probably a little unique, I guess. At the time that the franchise model launched, we had just sold our house. It sold very quickly, so we decided to move into my mom. The plan was, a couple months, so we didn't have to rush to just find a house. We wanted to take our time. And then in the middle of that, the franchise model came out. So I had to convince my husband to live with my mom longer and take all the money that we had been saving for that time and invest it into this new business. It was very scary. And I think I give my husband a lot of credit. I don't shout him out enough for taking those sacrifices with me. He has a very good job and does very well for himself. So to tell people I live with my mother-in-law, with my 4 kids and my wife, I am sure that's a very tough conversation for a man to have. But I appreciate him for trusting in me and taking that sacrifice along the way. But yeah, we cashed everything out. We put it all on Celebree.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And we started the process with 2 kids. Now we have 2 more, so we have 4 total. So I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason at that time that it's supposed to.
How about you, for you, Kelly, Mike?
For me,
And your mom?
I would say, it definitely took a little bit more convincing on the side of my mother, because my father had recently passed away, and they had created a nice nest egg for themselves. And, with a little bit of the background of my dad, like when he was younger and he had 2 young daughters, had the opportunity to go off and venture out with a partner and create their own business. He opted not to because he was worried that financially at the time it wasn't right for him and his family. When the business became very successful and the partner is now a millionaire. And he always kind of held that regret. So I think for my mom, when I approached her with this, this
opportunity.
The opportunity,
Yeah.
she said, you know what? She goes, we're going to do it.
Wow.
And she was just like, you're not going to have the regret your dad did.
Wow.
So-
Did you know about that regret? Did
Yes,
your dad?
yes,
Oh, did
yeah,
your dad
yes,
shared that with
yes,
you?
Yes, my
Okay.
dad had shared that with me, so I knew it. I knew it growing up, because we would always be like, man, like we could have had everything here.
right.
But we had a very happy, loving family.
Of course.
So, but I just think that my mom didn't want that to be the same for me, where it was always that thought in the back of your head, well, what if?
Yeah, and
She
you
didn't-
didn't want,
yeah.
you didn't want that for you either.
No, no. So
That's-
now it's
wow.
So it was very touching, because of course, like my husband and I having 3 children, we didn't have much of a nest egg to be able to
Yeah.
start off with. So it was basically my mother who helped us, get the franchise started. So
And your mom is, your mom's retired too at the point,
Yes.
right? So she's
Yep.
thinking, well, I got this nest egg that I have, and I'm headed towards retirement or in retirement, and I'm willing to,
Yeah.
give some of this up for this opportunity. Wow.
yes.
Wow.
So, and she's been able to benefit from it too. So we're very happy.
I'll tell everybody this all the time. Thank God we have good parents.
Yes, absolutely.
When everybody's,
Yes.
Yes.
all my credit goes back to my parents, because thank God I
Yes.
started with really great family and
Yeah.
and mom
And
and
the
dad.
support. I mean, even the long hours that we had first starting out, in the welcome center and opening the school. And I mean, we were there from open to close. I'm sure you
Yeah.
were too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just them being able to be supportive of watching our children, at night or
Mhm.
in the early mornings when we had to be there. So,
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you ladies, I've watched you guys for a long time, and you guys definitely are not afraid and are very accustomed to hard work.
Thank
you. Right. Not only
We try.
not only in the positions that you held corporately here at Celebree, but now owning your own school. So you guys, I know for a fact you guys aren't afraid of hard work and doing what it takes to make things successful. What has been the hardest transition, if that's right? What's been the big difference between being working for corporate and then owning your own business? We'll talk about what's been difficult, and then we'll talk about some of the benefits.
How long do you have?
I know.
Yeah,
I was
we
like,
have
this
as
is
long
half
as you
hour.
want.
It's
I had a really, really hard time, and I'm still working on it, from going from a school director to an owner. Big picture, I thought it would look the same, and I would still be a director and an owner. Especially that first year, I was like, I don't need a director. And boy, was it humbling to realize that, yes, I do need a director. but not only a director, but someone who understands that I'm working on shifting from a director role to an owner and letting go of things and just really diving into an owner and not a director.
Let's talk more about that, because I know for a fact that, you know, a lot of our franchise partners are coming from the corporate world. So when you say as a previous director, I kind of equate that to the corporate world, into ownership. Did you think you could do it because you'd been a previous owner or a previous director, or did you think you could do it because you knew you had the skill set?
I think it's a little bit of
Both.
both because I was a previous director. I did feel like, well, I've been doing this for 10 years and I feel like I did it well, so I can do this. And I could, but you need people, you need help. You do. 100%.
And like, give me some examples. Talk to me about someone that is coming from the corporate world and that thinks that they can also play that role. Now, whether they're qualified to be the director, you know, from the state perspective is another thing. But just the importance of building that executive team that it takes to run a Celebree school.
Yeah, I think that being involved and very hands-on in a level where you're constantly going through the competencies with your leadership team and coaching and developing them, and then also self-reflecting. What did I do today that was really impactful and really helpful? What did I do that, you know, maybe I could have done a little better or communicated that differently, and really owning those mistakes or opportunities and then making the difference. That is personally something that I really had to do. I went back to the way we would do it on the corporate side where, you know, Allison would come in and do a school visit or the weekly emails. I had to just remember all of those little tidbits of what Allison did to make me successful as a director so that I could do the same and mirror it for my leadership team.
Got it. So Kelly, what are you finding yourself doing now as an owner versus what you were doing as a school director?
Oh, there's so much more paperwork.
Like what?
I would say it's more of like the financial aspect of things. I think that we didn't realize, because again, I was the same way. I came in it, you know, guns a-blazing. I can do this. I can be an owner and a director, and that would be great. And until you're working like 14 hours a day and you're going, why am I doing this?
So like, what are you referring to?
I would say it's mainly, it's the whole package. It's the, you know, making sure that you're in compliance with licensing and making sure that you have all of your finances and paying the bills, and, you know, just those little things that you don't think take a lot of time actually do.
I tell Mike all the time, I am payroll, I am HR,
yes.
I am maintenance, I'm insurance,
Like the
I'm
hats
401k.
just grow.
Like that, those are the things that we have the luxury of Celebree taking care of.
Yes.
If there was a workman's comp, I just emailed over and it was done.
Right.
Now you learn a lot.
Nobody
Yes.
emailed to.
I called patient first and I said, this is our workman's comp number, and they're like, you need to file a claim with them first.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I mean, it seems so silly, but I've learned all of those things.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
humbling. It really is. You just have to laugh at yourself, but you wear all the hats now.
Yes,
The payroll thing
Absolutely.
is scary.
it is. It is.
What do you mean?
Well, it's just the paid time off and the, you know, just making sure that it's right, because you think about it, like you are in charge of someone else's money to make sure that they get that every 2 weeks, and making sure that it's correct and the hours are correct,
And make sure you have the right taxes taken out
Yes.
behind the scenes, so that way when it comes to file your taxes, you're all up to speed on that.
Yes.
Finding the right accountant I think that's been really important to me, because I found an accountant who I trust so much, and she understands that I'm green, and she's working with me in a very low level English language to teach me along the way, and I don't feel super silly talking to her, and that relationship is really important to me too.
Yes, I agree. The CPA is very, very beneficial.
So I have to, as you ladies were talking, I have to ask the question. So, were you running your households before you became a Celebree school owner?
No.
So right, because are you I'm thinking that running a household is almost like the same thing, right? You have to make sure that you have proper insurance. You have to make sure that your bills are paid, blah, blah, blah. So you guys are now doing that on the business side. Have you guys separated those responsibilities? Or are you now taking on both responsibilities?
For me, I'm taking on both responsibilities.
You gave them.
Mike has always been very, very smart with our finances, and he handled all of that. But I do own it for the business.
Got it.
I own it 100%.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Why don't you give him the business stuff too?
He's got to go to work.
I know. They're not allowed to quit their jobs quite yet.
I got it now. All right.
And
I got
wasn't
it.
I knew my credit score. I wasn't like this silly girl who didn't have any sense of how life works. I definitely knew, and he just always handled the insurance and made sure the insurance card was in the car.
Yeah. No, I was just wondering if you ladies were already kind of accustomed. I knew we spoke earlier about you guys were very accustomed to driving results through your P&Ls through Celebree corporately, but I didn't know if you guys were also already doing that on the home front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying, anyways. I don't know about that budget that we were talking about earlier, but
yeah, they're important, ladies. They're important. So let's move on to some of the most rewarding aspects of owning a Celebree school. You can. This is a chance to brag, boast a little bit if you want.
I think that I can now. I'm trying to think how to word it, because there's a lot of definitely things that are rewarding. Financially, it's been great to be able to provide a lot for our family. But I have so much more flexibility to be with my kids. And look, I'm going to get emotional. That has been so rewarding for me. I got to go to every single one of my kids' events at school this year. And they do a lot.
Aww.
The kindergarten picnic, the second grade picnic, the field. I didn't miss a single one of them.
Wow.
And that fills my bucket.
Yeah.
So that has been very, very rewarding for me.
Aww.
I definitely have to agree with that. It's doing it without feeling guilty.
Yes.
That I think is the biggest weight that was lifted. Is being able to do that and say, yes, you know what, I can take this time off and do that. And I mean, with my son, that's he graduated this year, being able to take that trip to his college and the orientation and, and not feeling guilty that you're leaving. I think
it's really hard to be a working mom in general, but then when you tell people you're a working mom, you're a business owner and a mom, they're how do you do that? And this has allowed me to do that, because I do feel like I'm bringing something to the table. I do feel like I'm setting a good example for my kids and showing them what hard work does and the value of it. I make them come in with me on the weekends and do stuff, but just being able to be with them too is just.
I love that, right? And there's so much in there in that statement. So how do you do that, right? How are you able to have the flexibility, not feel guilty, and also have very successful schools?
You can go.
I mean,
because if I'm a listener, I'm thinking, okay, how do you do that? Right? Because most people say, if you own your own business, it's hard work and takes a lot of time, and you guys have somehow figured it out.
Time management is your friend.
Tell us a little bit more about
I mean,
that.
just saying, making sure that you're spending the time with your children, but maybe after they go to bed, opening up the laptop and being able to do some work later in the evening. Or, utilizing your time when you are at your schools to really zone in and, get the work done that you need to get done there. So then that way you can have that freed up time, and being able to delegate, tasks to your management team and to your school. So I think time management is very key.
Yeah.
What would you say, Katie?
I would, there's definitely the time management, but building a really strong team. For what it's worth, the first year was not like this. The first year, you are crunching time. There's not enough hours in the day. You make that sacrifice. But once you build that really good team and you hold them accountable, like you were talking about earlier, and you invest in them. So I make it a point to make sure that I'm coaching when I'm there all the time. Teachers, if I overhear a conversation, after the conversation, if I think I'm coaching them on it. So invest in the team, build a team you trust. That leadership is so important, but you also can't be absent completely. You can't just walk away. And I think that is what keeps my team, I don't want to say on their toes, because I don't want to be, they're not scared when I come in, but just knowing that I'm there to support, but I'm also there, and I'm never just going to be away for a month at a time. You're always going to see me.
Yeah. When you know what I think you were describing in that was really how to, not only how to build a team, but also how to build a culture. Right? Well, because it's not about being scared. Oh, here comes Katie. It's about, have I built a team that mirrors or has the culture that reflects me? Yeah,
that's a very good way to put it.
Right.
For sure.
So, I have to also ask, like, with Celebree, do you feel as if Celebree and being a franchise owner had kind of already set the stage for that culture? I know some of that culture is we grow people big and small. That is a culture, and that is like our mantra, right? So has that kind of been valuable in this relationship?
Absolutely.
100%.
Okay. Right, because some people can start their own business, but I think you ladies are touching on a couple really good points of that. It's all about building the right team with the right culture. Mm-hmm. Then that allows for flexibility, and all the things that you guys are now enjoying in your life.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, it is like, I kind of feel like, why didn't I say culture? Because that is a word that we use very often in our school, because these teachers can go anywhere and work anywhere and probably make more money. I don't want that. Like, what do I do? What environment do I set that they want to stay with us and they enjoy coming to work every day? But I truly like my team. Like, I do enjoy being around them every day and having open dialogue and authentic conversations with them.
Yes, and the investment.
I used to brag about that all the time, exactly what you just said. The best thing about being an entrepreneur and owning your own business is that you get to work with people that you thoroughly enjoy. Because you built it. And if I'm not having a good time, you don't work here anymore, right? I mean, I'm not saying it selfishly, but I just think that is such a huge benefit. We get to create the environment and the culture and the team. We are totally in charge. So besides the dollars and the success and the flexibility, it's also the happiness and the freedom and the enjoyment that this business brings to me, not only because we're in the preschool business and helping these children, these families, but we're creating a team of an environment that I thoroughly enjoy to work in.
Absolutely.
Right, and I think that's one of the huge benefits of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I say often, if there's something that happened, it's always the coach's fault. Like, it's always going to be my fault.
Yes.
Right.
If you're winning, it's the players. If you're losing, it's the coach.
Right. You built it, right?
I say it all the time. Something happened. It's my fault. Self-reflect. What am I doing differently? How am I coaching my leadership team up differently than for the next time?
So what's next for you ladies? I know you're on your second school.
Yes.
but not only let's take this in two different ways. From a business standpoint, from an entrepreneur standpoint, or just personal. Where are you guys headed? What's next for you guys?
I mean, for me, obviously it's, building school number 2 and then eventually number 3. But also doing that and being able to invest in my family and being able to take some extra time off and, go on trips with my husband and things like that we've never been able to do before.
Has he retired yet?
No.
Not yet?
No.
Close?
He's got 5 years.
Oh my, I thought he was closer than that.
I'm not letting him retire until he can retire with benefits.
Okay, got it.
But just being able to spend that extra time, so really concentrating on my personal life and also being able to grow our business.
Got it. Katie?
So we actually are talking about expanding into a vacant space that's available right now. I have thought about school number 2, but just knowing where I am personally and how young my kids are, I don't think that's in the 5-year plan, maybe a 10-year plan, but also looking at other opportunities as well. I'm very passionate about youth sports. That's been like my big thing lately. What can I do to kind of support the community in youth sports? Because I just think sports can just bring so much value and so much character building in children, and unfortunately, in underprivileged areas, they don't have the resources and they're not exposed to as many opportunities as children in other areas.
Got it. I have to ask this question. What does your kids think about this? I remember, I tell the story all the time. I remember when my mom went from working for somebody to owning her own preschool, and her coming or telling me that my parents were building a new home, and this home had a jacuzzi tub in the bedroom, and it had a fireplace in the bedroom. And I thought, what is going on here? Like, what just happened? Did we win the lotto, or what? I mean, because our whole life had changed, and it seemed in an instant. So I'm just reflecting about, like, your children. I mean, both of you spoke about flexibility. I mean, so mom went from working, 6:15 in the morning to 6:15 in the afternoon, and now mom's home more often than she used to be. What's your children saying?
I mean, my kids are still young, so the older ones will say they like that they get to go to their sports after school, which we would have figured that out regardless. But the other ones are still young to really understand the value in that right now. But they do think it's really cool to say, we're going to my mom's school or my mom's summer camp.
Okay. Cool.
I would say, and this is the part that's going to get me emotional. So, like, at first, when we first opened, it was a lot of hours, and I was hearing, Mom, why do you have to work tonight? Or Mom, why do you have to be at the school right now? Or things like that. And now they are definitely feeling the difference. But then it also made me feel incredibly proud that my oldest, what was asked in one of the college essays, who is your most influential person in your life? And he had put me, and he put how, like I know, sorry. But I mean, he had said how I had, like, pushed through and, opened up my own business, and, was, like, through hard work and, determination. And that just did it for me. Like, that just, that just, like, pushed my button to say, okay, that's why I'm doing this.
And deep down inside, you already knew that's why you were doing
it. But for your kids to be able to see that and be able to hopefully reflect on that and make that their feeling one day for themselves, it's just incredible. Yep, sorry.
I know. But that's what everybody wants, and I'm so happy that you guys have reached this stage in your careers that you're entrepreneurs now. You are making these impacts. A lot of our franchise partners talk about this. They say, Richie, I wanna become a Celebree franchise partner because I wanna leave a legacy for my family. You guys are well on your way. I want to create wealth for my family. You guys are well on your way. And I want to make an impact on my community. And you guys have been doing that. So thank you guys. Thank you for not only being a wonderful partner, but thank you for entrusting in us. And that's why I asked that question about your children, because I know how important that is to you ladies. And you're changing the direction of each and every one of your families in a positive way. So congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to Enrich Your Empire. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and LinkedIn at Richie Huffman Celebree. We've got more great episodes lined up for you, so check back with us soon. Till then, stay inspired, stay driven, and keep building your empire.